Hey Flower Tribe, it's Kelly Lehman from Cranberry Fields Flower Farm coming to you from behind the camera today, and I want to give you some quick tips on what I do with my hydrangeas in fall. So here we are in my New Jersey Planting Hardiness Zone 6 garden, and it's fall. It's towards like the end of fall. We're in November now. And I wanted to show you what some of my Limelight hydrangeas look like and what some of my mop head hydrangeas look like. And I'm going to tell you what I do and what I don't do to these hydrangeas at this time of year. So this is my Limelight hydrangea. I have a boatload of these. They are one of the easiest hydrangeas to grow. So if you're new to the hydrangea game, I highly recommend you getting a Limelight hydrangea. They are spectacular when they are in their prime. They usually start to bloom in like the beginning. Well, here in New Jersey, I usually start getting blooms from them towards like the end of spring, early summer, and they bloom all the way until the first frost. So this tree started off as a white, creamy, gorgeous blooming plant, had beautiful white blooms on it, and up until about maybe a week ago, it had gorgeous, kind of like lime green with a semi like maroon tint on them. That's kind of like the dried flower that it turned to on the stem. So they make for a great, like dried cut flower. They make for like spectacular giant dry cut flower arrangements. But here's what I do with them this time of year. I literally walk past them and leave them alone. This is what I do. I look at them and I, give them a hello and I walk right past them. So I don't prune these back. They do come in on what's known as new growth towards like the beginning of spring. So if you did want to cut some of these old blooms off because you don't like the way they look, you're welcome to. It might start a little bit of a growth spurt for some plants that aren't yet dormant. But for the most part, I will leave mine alone. So I don't like to do things in my garden that I don't have to do. So I usually leave a lot of my hydrangeas alone. I don't prune back many of them. And so sometimes the only time that I will cut some of these blooms off are if there's like a really super heavy colossal bloom that I think might crack off when there's some snow. And let me come over to this Limelight hydrangea tree here to kind of show you what I mean. These aren't even like super colossal, but like this guy might be like a prime candidate. Like I might cut this one off because if there's a lot of snow on branches like this, it might actually wind up cracking, like cracking off that branch. But this isn't even that big. I mean, some of them were much bigger. So if they were much bigger stems that were like super droopy and I was afraid that the stem looked like it was going to crack off the plant in the middle of winter, I really don't want that to happen. So I might actually just give that like a little bit of a deadheading, which means I would kind of cut it here. But guys, listen, if you need to clean up your hydrangeas and you don't care about cutting back a lot of those, like a lot of that growth, and then it's not a big deal. You probably won't spurn a growth spurt if you just do like a little bit of a trimming. And if you do want to get rid of the brown heads, by all means, go ahead, but I would just give it like a little deadheading, which means you're just going to give it a clip, like a little bit right above a set of leaves that are not too far down the branch, because you don't want to do a heavy pruning this time of year. And what I mean by that is like, really getting into the plant and cutting off like a third of the plant. That's considered a heavy pruning, and sometimes that will spurn like a growth spurt. And you don't really want to do that in fall, because then you're going to have some new growth, and that new growth is probably going to get frozen off by the winter temperatures, and it's just not ideal for the plant. It's doing a lot of work making that new growth for no reason. So for the most part, I leave these blooms on my hydrangeas. I think it makes for like a beautiful like winter interest. And a lot of you have written in questions, what do I do about my hydrangeas? The leaves are all brown. They look horrible. This is what a lot of my hydrangea leaves look like this time of year. And it's not a big deal. A lot of these spots are just caused by moisture on the leaf. And then these temperatures get super cold, especially at night. And it just causes those brown spots. So it's very normal. These are what this is like a endless summer. This is what they look like now because we have like that frost. And so I'm basically just going to leave this plant alone. A lot of people are writing in, oh my gosh, should I go over there and cut everything off? And is it disease? It's just dormant right now. And it just means that those leaves basically got really, really cold. They're frozen off. And so that's just like kind of like the nature of the plant. But know that each of these little green buds in here, these are all going to be next year's flowers. So this is kind of like, like some of that new growth on this old wooded stem. So for mop head, you've got the wooded stem from last year. You've got the new growth forming, and this is going to be next year's flowers. So you really want to be careful that you don't come in here to your mod pet hydrangeas and, you know, prune them back, because every time that you make a cut, like if I did a cut here, I'd be cutting off all of these flowers here, and then I wouldn't have them for next year. So if you can, kind of leave them alone, unless you need to clean up. Like if this hydrangea was spilling over, you know, out of the garden bed, I would go in there, give it like a little bit of a cleanup. It's not that big of a deal. But for the most part, I like to leave well enough alone. So if you can leave them alone, that's what I would do. And then I just want to show you, we did a few hydrangea videos showing you how to propagate your own hydrangeas so that, you know, you can have more hydrangeas in your yard for free. And I will put a link to that in our hydrangea, you know, list of videos below, because that was a super popular one. A lot of people wanted to know how to propagate them. And this is what some of our cuttings look like. We had put them in the ground a few weeks ago, and they're thriving. They're looking really terrific. We've got a little bit of mulch kind of protecting them. I like leaving these leaves in place. I don't, you know, usually take the leaves away. I think that's an extra form of protection for them. And so, yeah, these guys are looking really, really great. We popped them in the ground, and, you know, we propagated them a few months ago, and then kind of babied them in little pots and containers, and they're doing terrific. So that's a little update on our hydrangea propagation. And that's what my secret garden looks like in November. Okay, guys, keep those comments coming and those questions coming, because a lot of the questions that you send me in comments below, I wind up making future videos over. Okay, guys, see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining us in this video, and please say hi to us over on my Cranberry Fields Instagram page. You can also find us on TikTok, and I made a whole bunch of podcasts for you. You can find those wherever you listen to your podcast. And know that I made a whole bunch of online flower courses for you with easy to follow tips on how to grow beautiful flowers just like these in your own gardens. I will put all of those in descriptions below. And please also let me know where you're viewing this from in this great, big, beautiful world. I love to see how our flower tribe is growing around the globe each week. Also check out our Kelly Lehman's Flower Tribe Facebook group, because there's thousands of gardeners from all over the world, and they're asking and answering loads of garden questions over there. And know that YouTube has allowed me to have a super thanks button attached to this channel. And if you'd like to buy us a cup of coffee, or let us know if you appreciate these videos, that would be terrific. Or you could just give us a like or a comment below. I would appreciate that. And I will see you guys in the next video.